Is this part of the year weird for you now that you're retired and you're not getting ready to go to camp? Like, this is the time where the arm starts getting loose and you start getting ready to go?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because the off season, kind of evolved over the years. Obviously it's become a lot, I think, less intense from what is required with the team. A lot more, I think, has fallen on the player. I think I had such a solid routine my last 5 years, where, when July rolled around, it was like, all right, for the next, 3.5, 4 weeks before camp, like I'm locked in. I know what I'm doing every second of the day to prepare myself to go to camp. And, you're meeting up with your teammates and you're kind of, creating these little, pre-training camps almost, to prepare yourself. So obviously my priorities are a little bit different now. It's, I'm thinking about, how many hours I'm going to be at the beach watching my kids skimboard, or keeping them active as opposed to, getting myself ready to go, throw a football and get hit.
You went right from being an NFL quarterback to being a broadcaster. And you talked about how tough that was going from one really demanding job to another demanding job with no real break. Now, Tom Brady, if he ever decides to retire from the game of football, which is still up for debate, he's going to be going into the Fox job. Have you talked to him about that at all? Did he ask you about that before he's making this decision?
No, I haven't talked to him yet. But look, it's, just like anything, if you want to be great at it, you have to work at it. And I know he recognizes that, I think the time commitment during the week is not nearly as, what being an NFL quarterback is. I think nor the pressures, of having to step on the field and perform and lead your team. But it is a different skill set, and it's you using different muscles, different instincts, different reactions, so it's something that has to be learned. It has to be trained, right? And it takes time. I don't think anybody just steps in and just kind of, embrace it, or grasps it right away, and so it's fun though, and it's just a matter of how it fits with the family dynamic.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see Brady go right from there to the number one guy. And, judging from his work ethic, like you, I think he'll be just fine when he makes that move. What about your former coach, Sean Payton? He's out now too. Have you guys talked at all? He's got to be feeling the same way you are. He's used to this time of the year being the time to go.
Yeah. I think it's probably a pretty refreshing time for him, just you grind. And then all of a sudden it's like the fog is lifted, and you don't have those same responsibilities or those same pressures, so I think Sean was always a guy who was able to compartmentalize, like when it was time to work, it was time to work. When it was time to play. And right now he's, going to be doing some studio work for Fox, in the fall. Mm-hmm. So he's, I think he'll be good at that. He's a guy he's got obviously a ton of insight and fun to listen, talk football, and that's a good group of guys, that he'll be with, so I think that transition will be, an easy one for him, pretty natural. But I would expect to see him out on the sideline at some point against him.
Yeah. Now, this is going to be a different year for you. You can actually relax on the couch on a Sunday and watch football. You're Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Who are the 3 favorite quarterbacks you can't wait to just sit down on the couch and watch just as a fan? Not named Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. No, those old guys are you're too close of friends to.
I like watching Joe Burrow. I like watching Justin Herbert. I'm really anxious to see kind of that whole, speaking of Herbert, like that whole AFC West division with the Broncos with Russell. I think that was a good move for Russell from the perspective of, man, he's got a ton of weapons there in Denver, and I think that defense is pretty stout. Of course, kind of Mahomes and the Chiefs. We know they're always going to be a contender. And then Devontae Adams going to the Raiders, getting back with Derek Carr. I mean, that puts them next level. So that whole division is going to be stout. It'd be interesting to see, I think, what happens on the other side in the AFC. That whole division with Browns, Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, obviously Big Ben retiring, how Pittsburgh responds. They've always had, such a great defense, but where are they offensively now with a new quarterback? How does Deshaun Watson do in Cleveland, with everything? Of course, Bengals coming off of their Super Bowl appearance. I think for the Bengals, the biggest challenge is just going to be, fighting the expectations. They seem like a pretty young, confident group that just kind of lets that stuff roll off their back, but still, everybody's gunning for them now, as opposed to kind of being the underdog that's, making the leap. And then the Ravens is that team that just, man, they're always so dangerous,
Right.
And I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a big chip on his shoulder. I think, that defense going to have a big chip on their shoulder. Harbaugh always gets them ready to play. So, yeah, this is going to be a heck of a year.
Yeah. Football. Like you said, that AFC West is unbelievable. And so Russ going from a new team, like you went from the Chargers to the Saints, going to a new team as a really good quarterback. Does that kind of give you like a new spark to your career? And you expect his game to be lifted this year?
I do. It's a rejuvenation. There's no question about that. But also, you just look at the weapons around him. He's got some stud receivers. He's gonna have a chance to throw to, and you feel like you got something to prove as well. I think a couple of years ago we never would have expected to see Russell anywhere else, right? With the way things were going in Seattle, they were a perennial contender. But I think this is now kind of a time for him to it's almost like reestablish yourself and in a new place on a new team with a lot of weapons around you.
Hey sports fans, if you want to watch more sports seriously, be sure to check out these clips right here. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all the great content from us here at USA Today Sports.